or we don't. And so I think that is what Orthodoxy is trying to do. Wherever we are, we try to manifest Christ's vision for this type of worship, this type of unity, this type of structure, this type of belief, and in spite of all the adverse forces.
That's helpful. Thank you.
So what we're doing here, this is BX Blues for the divinenature.net, www.divinenature.net. I have a playlist with a lot more information on Protestantism and Orthodoxy and Eastern Orthodox claims. Check out that playlist. I will attach it here in the show notes. So what we're doing here, this is the website or the page Gospel Simplicity. This gentleman goes a lot into Eastern Orthodoxy. What he's going to say basically is that he cannot be Eastern Orthodox. He likes loves about a lot of the Eastern Orthodox religion, but the anathemas he cannot be because of the anathemas and the fact that the Second Ecumenical Council says that unless you kiss, unless you bow, all of these things, it has a number of Marian dogma anathemas placed in there. I'm going to also link this video so that you can watch it in its entirety and how this Eastern Orthodox supposed priest answers a lot of these questions. And so you're free to check that out. Now the host here is going to basically summarize and tell him why he can't be Eastern Orthodox. It seems like he mentions one of the reason why he cannot be, which is one reason why I cannot be, among many other things. He says that he likes many things about the Eastern Orthodox religion. Of course, I have a whole lot of material on here where I will show you actually 17 points that why I cannot be Eastern Orthodox. I find a lot of trouble within Eastern Orthodoxy. There's trouble everywhere in all Christian traditions. Blind spots here, there, everywhere. We all have them because man is fallible, not infallible. And so basically we live based on our conscience. I've said that many times before. Upon God, upon what the knowledge God has given us, and the text is there. It's on us to read it in the most scholarly and honest way possible. And so he's going to answer that why he doesn't believe in anathemas. Now, this FR supposed priest has said that that the anathemas aren't what we think it is. That it's basically cursing the bad doctrine. Of course, but if you look at Galatians chapter 1, you read it in context, you'll see that the Apostle Paul is anathematizing the people, not the doctrines. Okay? Those people are doctrines. Plus also further in Galatians, when he talks concerning those people who are in heresy, he speaks concerning the person, the people, the individuals, the personhood of the person, the people. Those people are the ones that will be damned. And so I think that this gentleman actually whitewashes the understanding of what anathema actually is. It's a biblical concept, and man should not just toss it around. Man should not do that. Of course, the Apostle Paul, who held and who was carried along by the Holy Spirit to speak the things of God, was compelled by the Holy Spirit to speak the things that he spoke, to write the things that he wrote, and to pass on as a apostle of God. We do not have that same authority, right? We do not have the authority to anathematize anything, especially if it's not biblical, and especially if it's not inspired itself, right? So, not getting too deep into that, let's listen to this man's response. Let's listen to the gentleman, the host, say why he cannot be Eastern Orthodox because of these anathemas, and also let's listen to this Eastern Orthodox representative, and you tell me if his response to the host is adequate.
For that, my final question is going to bring us kind of back where we started this conversation, and even further back to how this conversation came to be. I think my initial email to you, kind of pitching this conversation, was my personal biggest roadblock to becoming Orthodox are these anathemas. And specifically, I think I put in that email, but I'll put it again here. I shouldn't say I can't. I struggle to imagine myself standing up on Orthodox Sunday on the Triumph of Orthodoxy and reading out these anathemas like in good faith and believing those things. And there's kind of a distinction here for me. As I've kind of done my historical study and my theological research over the past few years, I've found great beauty in most, if not all, of Orthodox theology. Like, there's not that many theological hang-ups for me as I look at it. But I do think I probably approach doctrine a little different, such that when I look at these issues to which anathemas are attached, I can't help but think, like, I really understand how someone would come to a different conclusion, and it would feel dishonest for me to say, like, let those people be anathema. One, because I think some of these are attached to people who are genuinely Christians, and who have just come to different conclusions on complicated questions. And I think maybe it's just a personality thing as well. I don't know, but I think it's probably the primary thing is the approach to dogma and doctrine, of saying, like, I could say this is true and this is the way my community has decided to go forward, but to attach an anathema to those who have seen things differently because of all of these like contingent reasons, how they grew up, the texts they read, all of these things. It's really hard for me to imagine myself doing that. And so I'm not asking you to solve this for me right now, but I don't think I'm alone in this. So for people who are asking questions like that, who might even say, like, maybe the conclusions are right, but the approach feels really difficult. What recommendations would you have? Is it a matter of just like, maybe I insufficiently care about truth? I'm sure that's what some people say in the comments. Yeah, like, we've just got to be, draw harder lines. Maybe it's, well, let's understand these anathemas in a certain way. It could be a myriad of things, but I guess, if I'm sitting in your office for pastoral advice, what's the advice?
I think it's critical to reacquire the word anathema biblically. So to go over all the verses that has the word anathema, and to understand that it's a warning, I think, really to people in the house of God to avoid tragically going there too much. I'll give you one example. There's one anathema, which is if you don't say that the Virgin Mary remained a virgin before, during, and after childbearing of Christ, let him be anathema. And you might say, well, okay, before, it's obviously in the Gospels. What about the during and the after part? Isn't there like some discussion? And the church says, just don't go there. You're going to have to trust that on this we have it right. I think it's not directed to those who are outside seeking, who come from a different background, family-wise, and it's people that are in the church to say, just don't go there. We've solved this for you. Okay, you can trust us. If you go there on these complex issues about Mary ever virgin during, before, after, it's gonna be confusing. You'll find all kinds of arguments. Just don't go there. It's safer not to go there. And I think that's the way that I read it. It's something where you don't invite people from the outside to the anathemas for that particular service. It's something to remind us that some things are kind of settled best that we can, and that let's just not go there anymore. Let's just focus on our Christian life. And there's a famous saying, the devil wants us to believe that Christianity is complicated but easy to live. In fact, Christianity is rather simple, but it's just hard to live it out, really, in the way we should. And so it's a reminder to say, look, the faith is settled, right? Just kind of go to church on Sunday, or ideally more, live a Christian life. Maybe stop asking questions anymore about, this and that, and complex questions that are, you're right, unsolvable sometimes. And just, stay in the church where you've been planted. Do your best. I tend to see those services in that light. They're not, we don't proclaim those anathemas when we go meet other Christians. Obviously, it's not the point of that unique expression.
I appreciate that, Father Lawrence. This has been a joy as always. Thank.
Okay, so what did you think about the FR's answer to the host? I would say that is the most perfect hierarchical religionistic answer that would, and it's It's just too predictable. In fact, if I feel that if I wanted to almost tease, if I wanted to troll an answer to come from a hierarchical religionistic system like the Eastern Orthodox religion is, that I would give that type of answer. I don't think that was a very, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that answer, that response. So it almost seemed like he was saying, and in fact, it is what he was saying, that this doesn't concern people outside the church. Therefore, you're outside of the church. Therefore, mind your business. or what he's saying, and he was saying that even those that were internally, the ones that come every Sunday to the liturgy, that they should just leave it up to us. Do you stay over there? We'll be over here. And isn't it what the Protestants' main complaint is? That, he says that if leave the stuff that can't be understood, then if it can't be understood, then why assign anathemas to them? You see what I mean? So there's something really wrong with that response. And it's not that these things have to be understood. There's many things that can't be understood from a human perspective. Maybe that's what he was referring to, if I throw him a bone. But the question is that these things have been anathematized, right? That's the problem. So they can't stand where they say that they can't understand it. They have to define why they believe it, and I believe they have, but it's due to an infallible church council that they've determined it. Okay? So it's not like other things that we rely on the faith, and he spoke well earlier in the video concerning that there are things concerning the faith that we must believe, and faith is what hinges the religion itself and our relationship with Christ. That would have been a fair response. But the issue is that he's redefining what anathemas actually are, and that is the curse, not just on the doctrine, on the falsehood, but also upon that person who speaks, those heresies. And a false prophet is the one who would teach and spread those falsities, right? We know in the Old Testament what happened to false prophets, and it wasn't just their doctrines that were being damned and stoned and buried. It was the person itself, right? So no, I think that among a bunch of things, a lot of things within the doctrines we found in Eastern Orthodoxy, there's a lot of beauty in it. There's a lot of truthfulness in it. There's a lot of good teachings. There's a lot to learn within the Eastern Orthodox religion. But there is also a lot of bad doctrine, a lot of tradition that is forced upon the text, and a lot of prescriptions that should have remained descriptions, within the text. All right. And so he speaks a lot about that. He kind of opens up on that, and he says that, where do we get all of these things from along the way? Someone along the way basically decided that this is what was going to happen. And that's what I've always contended. I say the first 300 years were years of chaos for the person who held Christ in their heart. Right? There wasn't time to establish half of what was established in the hundreds of years afterwards. And so check out those other videos that I have on this playlist. I'm probably going to have this one only play on divinenature.net for your edification. All right. Thanks for watching the Divine Nature Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share if you care. Until next time, God bless.